Bonjour à tous, c'est Sébastien de VR4Player. Je suis en compagnie de Michael qui est designer VR et de Nick qui lui est responsable de production. Tous deux font partie du studio de Melbourne Digital Lode à l'origine du jeu VR Espire via Operative qui sera publié par Tripwire Interactive. Nous allons donc essayer d'en savoir plus sur cette production alléchante qui a été officialisée sur PlayStation VR durant le dernier E3 en date. Hello Michael, hello Nick.
Hey Sebastian.
Hello, Sebastian.
Thank you for being here and for giving us some time. So you are both from the studio Digital Lode in Australia. Can you explain what you do and how long you've been working there?
Yeah, sure. Our studio was founded for the development of Espire 1 VR Operative. So development of the game began in late 2016 and we moved through prototype, vertical slice, pitching, and we secured a publishing contract, and in late 2018 our studio grew, and so the whole studio is focused on developing Espire for VR platforms.
Okay, nice. I suppose you are both, above anything, huge fans of video games and certainly of VR games too. What's your last crush on PlayStation VR or other VR platforms if you wish?
The last game that we played on VR?
Your last crush, yeah.
Your last crush. Right.
My last VR crush, I was very interested with the Oculus Quest launch. So I had a lot of fun playing Dead and Buried 2. That game, very fast-paced VR shooter. I guess for myself, the truth is we've been, at least myself, developing for so long. We haven't played enough VR games lately, but
we haven't. I've been enjoying.
Haven't time for you.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. I've been playing a bit of Robo Recall, but I suppose a lot of that had to do with comparing, the Rift version to the Oculus Quest, because we've got to hit the same targets. So we've been playing a bit of that, and Super Hot as well. We've been lucky enough to be playing that as well recently. So, but nowhere near as much as we'd like.
And I think a big VR game that we're huge fans of in the office is Climby.
Yeah.
We've been lucky to have Climby, the video game, on the Quest. So the development team, on Fridays we all hop into the Quest and play Climby together, all of us.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Okay. Well, I've seen that you have also worked on different interactive VR media and on some augmented reality applications. Is Espire 1 your first real VR game, or maybe you've already worked on a non-VR game before?
The Espire is our first commercial game project. The scope of Espire is very big, so for the team it was a very ambitious project that we've worked on, and leading up to Espire we worked on smaller VR and AR projects. For a long time it was a solo project, and then the team grew to about 3 people. During those early times we did VR projects and a few AR projects for business to business. So one of them was an experience where you put the headset on at a trade show. Suddenly you're standing on the Sydney Harbour Bridge looking out over the bay and Sydney. You have to walk along a plank, a bit like Richie's plank experience, and you have to grab a koala and save the koala, bring it back to the edge of the bridge before the bridge collapses. So it was a very fun project. We used HTC Vive with Leap Motion, so you could see your hands.
Oh yeah, Leap Motion, yeah.
We put the tracker on the koala's head. I was just checking if we still have the koala.
I don't know where it is.
But
it's somewhere in the studio.
So you could actually touch the koala and feel his fur.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been a few fun VR projects, but they typically are kind of like 1 month long projects. And since we went full time focusing on Espire at the start of 2018, we have just done that only.
Yeah, it's definitely the first full-time production game that we've done. Yeah.
Well, we also have done contracting work for Tripwire Interactive. So we've done about 2 to 3 months work on Killing Floor Incursion, the VR title that's on PC and PSVR. So we moved our movement system into Killing Floor Incursion.
Okay, sounds very interesting. So Espire 1 is a single-player VR experience focused on stealth, espionage and action. At first, it reminds us of Metal Gear Solid, Splinter Cell, or James Bond sometimes. Can we expect to play a charismatic character like Snake, Sam Fisher, or 007?
Look, it's somewhat charismatic, but you're actually playing as a robot effectively. So in the game, you're an agent working for the IFA, the Intelligence Forces of Australia, and you're an Espire agent remotely controlling a drone of the future. So you're basically standing in a holodeck style room, which we call the control theater. And the movements that you make with the controllers are controlling a drone, 1,000 kilometers away. And so every movement you do in VR is mimicked by the robot. So as you play through, you're in the first person of the robot. So he's pretty charismatic. He's got a few features and things he does. He doesn't wear a tuxedo or anything, but.
And the guards actually in the game are very scared of you because they've never seen this sort of robot before, and so when you're jumping on them, you actually kind of you can get in trouble from the IFA. So because you work for the Australian government in the game, everything you do costs money. So if you kill guards, it's very expensive because the Australian government will have to kind of cremate their guard's body, transport it to the family. If you stun the guard, it's not as expensive, but the IFA will still have to brainwash the guard so they won't remember what you look like because you're controlling this robot. So if you want to play and save the most amount of money as possible, you kind of have to maybe not be charismatic, but be very creative in how you avoid confrontations with the enemies.
Okay, well, we are an Espire agent who can use an arsenal of weaponry, but also some gadgets. Can you give us more information about these ones? What kind of gadgets would be able to play with?
Yeah, definitely. The main gadget, which we've shown off in our trailer, is your hand camera. You raise your hand to your head like this, and when you squeeze the trigger, the camera will pop off your hand and it floats because with magnets you can use it then to look around a corner, or you can focus on enemies and you will tag them, and then you'll be able to see the enemy through walls. You can also grab the camera and then you can throw it. It's a sticky camera, so it'll stick to any walls in the environment, and in your HUD you can then zoom in to see further, or you can, just like Splinter Cell, press a button and the sticky camera will make a little high-pitched noise and the guards will come in and investigate.
Yeah, and there's also another feature called Espire Vision, where if you raise your hand to your head and squeeze the trigger, it puts out a sonar wave where you can see all threats within a 20-meter radius of the Espire agent at the time. And there's a cooling off period. It uses charge, so if you use all of the Espire Vision, you have to wait until it replenishes. So that's another feature.
And sound like Splinter Cell? Yeah. No.
It's very true because for all of us, this is our dream project, and we never thought we would have that opportunity to try and work on a stealth game. But more importantly, it's more fun trying to work on a stealth game in VR. So for all of us, we just sit around and think, what is our favorite thing to do in a stealth game? How could we do it in VR? How can we do it in a way where if you don't have the motion controllers, you just can't play it? So we try to make all the mechanics in our game. If you get damage, if the robot receives damage, you have to actually grab a repair tool off your body and then repair the damage yourself. Otherwise, the robot will be destroyed. And so that way, first-time players, they'll be freaking out, hopefully, and they'll be looking at the ground trying to repair, and the enemy is attacking them, so maybe you need to run away.
Yeah.
But then an advanced player, they might be able to shoot with the gun, and they'll just repair without even looking down because they can just feel with the vibration of the controller that the repairs are happening. So we try to have some mechanics, and we wear our inspiration on our sleeve. So, you know, there are a lot of things in our game that are very clearly inspired by our favorite stealth games, but we hope there's also a lot of things in there that are unique or at least an original take on it.
Yeah, I guess it's a VR game, so it's unique in a way.
Absolutely. I think trying to reimagine some of those core stealth mechanics, or our favorite stealth mechanics from a lot of the games we'd enjoyed playing growing up, and reinvent them in VR has been one of the big challenges, but also hopefully part of the fun experience that it will end up being.
Is it possible for you to give us an example of an objective-based mission? Do we need to rescue someone or go quietly to retrieve data or something else?
Yeah, both those things are objectives in the game. The game is a continuing story, and so as you go throughout the missions in the game, the campaign we're building is about 4 to 6 hours long. And so the very first mission, it's a bit more linear. One of the things we hope is that every area of the game you could approach it stealth or action. There's at least 2 ways to get through every area, and the objectives are rather simple. So they might be the first objective is, you know, obtaining your tranquilizer dart gun. It's an experimental weapon, and then by the time you get to the later missions in the game, you have to save hostages that are held at gunpoint by executioners. And in those cases too, they're very difficult objectives, because if you fail them, the entire mission is a failure at that point. The further you get into the game as well, the more freedom you have in terms of what order you complete your objectives.
So we're hoping that will contribute to replayability of the game, but also enable people that are interested in speed running the game in different ways and having different tactics to complete it, that it'll enable them to come up with different strategies, because one thing we enjoy, you know, watching and we do in the studio is try and complete the missions as quickly as we can. So as you get later in the missions and there's more non-linear objectives and there's multiple ones that you can do in any order, it becomes fun trying to work out the fastest way to complete them and finish the missions. So that's something we're hoping will translate for consumers.
You should mention too the robot. When you die, you get the possession.
Yeah. So the robot itself is going through the facility. If you receive too much damage and the robot's destroyed, it remains in the same location where it was destroyed. You can then repossess another Espire unit within the facility that's been activated and continue playing on the mission. So you'll see your decommissioned Espire as you go back through the base, as the play continues on.
And the Espires are kind of in different parts of the base too. So by the time you get to the last campaign mission, you can kind of like play it a lot and think, cool, these objectives, I could possess this Espire, I can go there, then I can possess another Espire that's all the way at the other end of the base to do this objective quicker. And I guess we went on a tangent a bit, but the objectives are, the primary inspiration was games like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. Some of the objectives are rather simple, get to a certain location, but some of them also are, retrieving intel, planting hand cameras, which are also trackers, onto things like helicopters, so that you can track the location of enemies.
And the rest you'll have to find out when it comes out.
Yeah. You already have answered to 3 other questions. I will ask you later.
Sorry.
About the customize our arsenal of our equipment, about the length of the game, about the many ways to complete those missions, the different ways to complete these missions.
We can talk a bit about like the length of the game is something that we find interesting and challenging, because you have some players that will be first-time players and some that are experts at VR. So we try and hope it's a 4 to 6 hour campaign. The campaign missions are rather long as well. We believe they are. So when we play test them, typically 30 to 80, 90 minutes long. And so we have the feature where you can save your progress, and because the game also comes on the Oculus Quest, at least ourselves when we're testing, you can kind of keep playing and then just take the headset off and then put it back on again, maybe when you get home, and keep continuing the story. But there's also the challenges.
Yeah, so the campaign itself is 6 missions, which are story-driven campaign missions, and there's also 25 virtual challenges that will ship as well as the 6 campaign missions. So estimating between 4 to 8 hours of content, I suppose, depending on how you play it, all collectively. So
with 3 leaderboards, so every campaign mission, and challenge, when you finish the mission, you can either try and get to the top of the leaderboard for the shortest time, and that might mean...
It's my next question.
We'll let you start asking some questions, maybe.
you don't need me. So, Espire 1 is exclusively a single-player game, but if we can beat our time on each mission, I suppose we can compare our score to other players via a leaderboard or something else.
Yeah, well, there'll
Funny
be,
you ask that.
Yeah, that's right. There'll be there is global leaderboards, and so we're hoping that, especially with the shorter virtual challenges, that there's quite a lot of replayability there in relation to getting the fastest time or the lowest score within those games. So there'll definitely be leaderboards to experience some competition and some replayability there. There's no multiplayer at this stage. It's something that we'd love to potentially look at in the future, but at this stage we need to just get this game out, and if it is successful and people are interested and they like what we're doing, then that's certainly something that we could look at in the future.
Okay, so my next question it's about multiplayer. Is there a chance to see a multiplayer mode coming later as an update or a DLC?
Yeah, so look, at this stage we just need to get the game out. It's sort of due out in August at this stage, so we need to we're laser focused on finishing it and releasing it. But if it's successful and or it's popular and people enjoy playing it and they like what we're doing, then we would love to look at the opportunity for some sort of co-op or some sort of multiplayer opportunity in the future, definitely.
Yeah. And I think too, we've had a lot of sitting as a team. We've had so many ideas for multiplayer, but also too multiplayer. There's a big question too about just VR. The size of VR as a market is still rather small, and so if you want a game to be successful and have a long life, you need to continue to support it. So the things that we're happy about are our publisher Tripwire Interactive, their titles. Rising Storm and Killing Floor, etc. They support them with free updates, and we've also had a lot of industry greats, industry legends that have helped us give with feedback. And big one is Rob Yescombe. He has sort of helped be a steward for the game a bit and suggest ways that we can look at adding multiplayer in the future if the game is doing well, if we're lucky. And he's pointing to other games like Sirento VR that are kind of like the industry greats in terms of how they can support the VR community.
Yeah, because there are Space Junkies. You can play on Space Junkies. You can play with any players from any headsets, and that I think that's a good idea for Espire 1 too.
Oh yeah.
Your game will give full freedom of movement without motion sickness. Have you worked hard to find a solution to prevent motion sickness?
Yeah, very hard. And for the sort of development story of this game was that it was a solo effort for a few months, and then the team was very small. There was 3 of us, and so for most of 2017, we were just focusing on building mechanics and trying to get a publishing partner. And the major focus during that time was our movement system, the control theater, and it was, in the end, it was one of the major features that got us the publishing deal. Tripwire Interactive, the president of that company, John Gibson, he would get simulator sickness in VR very easily, and so Tripwire were mentoring us and interested in this game from the very start. And so when he was playing early prototypes, and when we finally added the control theater feature, that's when he took interest and said, okay, cool, this is what we want, because he would play games and feel very sick and think, this is not fun. Some people, many people will play VR, and after a few weeks, they will get their VR legs, they'll get their iron stomach, and they won't feel sick anymore. But some players just can't get past the simulator sickness. So for us, it's the major reason why we try to focus on that feature. And also, everyone is different. So some people, everyone gets simulator sickness in different ways. So our control theater has a lot of options, 4 simple presets, but a lot of options if you want to adjust it until it feels good for you. Or there's a very big button.
To everyone.
Yeah, there's a big button that says turn it off. So, because we know a lot of people won't want it.
Perfect. Good idea.
Yeah.
So, in Espire 1, we'll be able to control some things with our voice. Can you tell us more about that feature?
Yeah, so the voice activation or the voice control feature is something that is really cool to do in the game. We enjoy using it. So basically, if you get up behind a guard or an enemy and you're undetected, you can actually just say freeze, and it uses the microphone input of your VR device of choice.
We actually use the microphone for our VR device of choice all the time.
Yeah,
so.
And we're recording to it right now. But yeah, so you can say freeze, and the guards will put their hands up. They'll be held up. And so, yeah, it's just a cool mechanic, hopefully, that people will enjoy using as we do, and it just gives you that extra little bit of immersion within the game, hopefully.
Great. About the PlayStation VR version, are you working on a compatibility with the aim controller accessory?
The aim controller is something that we decided we wouldn't support at this time, mostly because the game requires a lot of two-handed actions. You got to climb things, you need to repair, use Espire vision. Lots of things like that would be hard when it's just the aim. One of the things we did think a lot about, though, was like, wow, what if we had to use the aim? How could we use the game? Maybe instead of climbing, you could shoot a grappling hook and then kind of go where you need to go, or maybe you could flip the gun and swap the weapon between pistol, rifle, shotgun, repair tool, repair, come back. So it's definitely something that we did think about for a long time. But for us, part of the reason that this game could get into development was that we needed to support as many platforms as we can. And so we really didn't want to stretch ourselves too thinly. So we thought we want to make it work well on the moves. One of the things that we are considering is also the 3D rudder. So the guys at 3D rudder are pretty awesome, and we're still not sure if we'll be able to get the 3D rudder support in the game by launch, but it's definitely something that we think is a pretty cool device that, the Move controllers, it's very annoying that there is no thumbstick on them, so anything that kind of helps with that, we're interested in. Yeah. We were even trying to use the DualShock controller, because we thought maybe we can track the DualShock controller and you can just hold 2 DualShocks. That would be...
Yeah. I think the big challenge for us is we're trying to hit, PC, the PSVR and Quest all at launch. So there was quite a lot to take on at one time. So we'd love to support every possible device and controller out there, but it's just there's just
too many of them.
A lot to get done within the time frame. So it's again, if it's popular, it's the sort of thing that we might look at in the future.
Maybe later.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Okay, great. Are there any graphic improvements planned for the PlayStation 4 Pro?
For the PS4 Pro, it's still something that I think is still on the cards in terms of how the performance will go, because whether it's better graphics or it's higher frame rate, that's something that's being looked at.
Yep. And yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not actually doing the port to PSVR. that's being done by a third-party company. So we're yet to see exactly what will be done for the pros. So.
Yeah, with the development of the game being so short, our publisher Tripwire is overseeing the port of the PlayStation version. So internally in Melbourne, we're doing the Quest and all the PC platforms, Windows Mixed Reality, Valve Index 5, Rift S. But the PS4 version is done mostly with an external team. And so because it's done in parallel at the same time too, it has been a very interesting kind of project to be a part of, because at the same time we try to get the game looking great on PC, PSVR and Oculus Quest. And so it's interesting because both teams kind of, the PS4 team create a lot of impact particles for things like bullet impacts, explosions that we can then use on the PC and the Quest version, and then we try to share development as closely as we can, and also get things parity, so things like platform achievements and trophy support, things like that.
Okay, so this is my last question. Espire 1 is expected to be released in August this year on major VR headsets. Do you know if it also concerns the Europe release? Are you able to tell us the precise release date now?
So look, we're at the moment where August is the month that we've given as far as the release date's concerned. We're working with our publisher Tripwire as far as the exact date's concerned, but it's not something that we have released publicly yet. So,
and that's mostly because it's on multiple platforms. The big ones being kind of PSVR, Oculus, and Steam. We need to make sure that the launch date can be simultaneous, and so the publisher is working with the platforms to choose a date that lines up with all 3 platforms at the same time for the simultaneous release. So for us at this point, we're focusing on the last stage of development, certification and bug fixing, and the publisher is focusing on the marketing and also the release date. So we're not actually sure whether, because I think we are also Europe. Australia is also Sony Europe, so we would assume it's a simultaneous release for all of Sony's markets, but we're not sure of that.
We don't actually know yet, so.
Okay, so you don't know for the Europe release?
All we know is it's August.
Yeah.
Okay, for everyone.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, so that's it for me. This is the end of this interview. Thank you very much for your time, Michael and Nick.
Thank you very much.
We are really looking forward to laying our hands on this game. I wish you all the best for this title and for your future titles. Goodbye to all of you, and see you soon in the VR world.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sebastian. We really appreciate your time and the interview.
Thank you very much.
Okay.